This is the VegNET Bites and Insights webinar. So we'll hear from growers from across South Australia, Tas, and also WA with their key takeaways from our recent study tour to the Gatton AgTech Showcase and Lockyer Valley. My name is Prue Rothwell and I'm the VegNET Regional Support Officer for Tasmania, and I'm facilitating this webinar with my peers and colleagues, Lisa Hasson from WA and also Kirsty Kittel from South Australia. And before I continue, I just want to first acknowledge the Palawa people as the traditional owners of the land that I'm joining from today in Launceston. And I also wish to acknowledge the traditional owners across the many lands that we're collectively from, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So just to quickly, I suppose, mention about VegNET. So VegNET is a national vegetable and onion extension program that is run by growers for growers. It is funded by Hort Innovation using the Vegetable Research and Development Levy and contributions as well from the Australian Government. Hort Innovation is grower-owned, not-for-profit research, and a development corporation for Australian horticulture. And there are 10 VegNet regions across Australia with regional development officers and support officers. And our roles are very much to help increase industry awareness of and engagement with best practices, and to help growers adopt practice changes that will improve productivity, profitability, and competitiveness in their businesses. So a perfect example of this was the opportunity for our 3 regions to take 5 growers per region up to the Gatton AgTech Showcase, and also some farm tours across the Lockyer Valley. And we had 3 objectives around this, which was around building knowledge and capacity, providing a networking opportunity, and to also explore AgTech innovation for adoption, both on farm and also with the potential for any trials.
Sorry, Pri, are we seeing the PowerPoint doesn't seem to be loading? I don't know.
That's okay. We can forge on and we can send through the slides with some photos in the follow-up email.
I can do this if everyone can see. Is it gonna go like that? Is the slides in here?
No, that's all good. Not to worry. That's fine. We can share it afterwards.
You can see the slide like presentation. Oh, there we go.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Cool. Perfect timing. So we crammed in a lot in 2 days, and I'm not going to go into much detail now, because the gold will very much be in what the growers have to share with us. So day 1, we visited Barden Farms in the morning in Gatton, and were showed around by their National Farm Manager, Nathan Claxon. And one thing that stood out to me during that one was just how simple innovations can really be effective solutions. And then we spent the rest of day 1 at the Gatton AgTech Showcase and the Sundown and Networking event. And that covered the live demos, speaker sessions, and many exhibitors. Day 2 of the tour, we visited Mulgowie Farming Company in the morning and heard about their regen ag journey and emphasis on soil and plant health, and were treated to a tasty lunch of their Wagyu beans and corn. And then we headed over to Withcott Seedlings, where the CEO, Jeremy Calicore, and his team took us for a walk around their quite massive nursery operation. So for the rest of the webinar, we'll now hear from each region of growers for around 10 minutes each, and then we'll have a short Q&A session. So any questions that come to mind as growers are sharing their insights and key takeaways, if you'd like to post them in the chat, we can then cover those in the Q&A session. And I'll now hand over to Kirsty to kick off with South Australia's key takeaways.
Great. Thanks, Prue. So 2 of our growers from our group are here today. We've got Laurie DeRuvo and Evan Braham. So Laurie, I'll start with you. If you could just introduce yourself and your business and your role in the business and what you grow, just to kick off. Just unmute yourself, Laurie. There you go. That's better. Thank you.
Hi all.
Oh, Laurie?
Oh, that wasn't me. I could hear somebody. That wasn't
If
me.
you could just introduce yourself
Sure,
and your
yeah.
business.
Yeah, my name's Laurie DeRuve. We've been growing on the Adelaide Plains my whole life. I'm currently the farm manager, and we grow lettuce for fresh market, iceberg lettuce for fresh market, and for the service industry.
Beautiful.
Simply, and
Yes.
that's all we do.
Evan, can you introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, no worries. Evan Braham, we grow capsicums in protected cropping in Virginia. And I've just been basically doing a bit of everything on the farm. So just maintenance, basically from start to finish, I do pretty much everything there is, I guess.
Great. Now a question for you both. What sort of inspired you to apply for the study tour? Start with you, Laurie.
Oh yeah, we've always been interested in tech. I know predominantly this was a tech journey, so yeah, it was a very, very interesting trip.
Great. And Evan?
Well, reading it and doing a bit of research about it was just having a look at the Gatton Ag Show and having a look at other people's farms is always a good thing because you can always, or for my sake, implement little ideas from other farms and kind of merge them together to see what we can do on our farm. If there's different, I don't know, there's certain challenges farmers deal with and the way they do certain things, maybe we can implement it or we can have little bits and pieces and try and, I don't know, figure a solution out.
Definitely.
Many different ways. But that was probably the main reason why I really wanted to go, was just to see what's out there, you know, and adventure in different, I don't know, different paths.
And just speaking on that, so at the Gatton AgTech showcase, I saw you, Laurie, you're checking out some of the technology, and I was wondering if that helped you at all, or if you sort of got any takeaways from having a look at what was those field demonstrations at the showcase.
Yeah, well, the predominantly interesting things that I seen were the weeders. They had mechanical autonomous weeders. They had spray weeders that were directional, just that could photograph the weeds and spray just the weeds. And like the piece de resistance was the laser weeder. That was a bit of that was a blow your mind tech. That was
pretty spectacular. And so do you think that might be something that you could implement on farm at some stage, that sort of technology?
Well, I think we're being forced down that road anyway, because they're removing more and more like weed chemicals like pre-emergence and post-emergence, and we're having issues with resistance as well. So and hand weeding's not probably an option for anybody. So this new tech is pretty much a game changer. Just like when they introduced pre and post emergent herbicides, that was a bit of a game changer for the industry. And now this is this is probably going to take over from that.
Great, good to hear. And Evan, so we visited Barden Farms. Obviously, you're in protected cropping.
Yep.
What was it like seeing the sort of facilities that they have at Barden? Did it sort of inspire or change your thinking in any way for what you've got going on in Virginia?
Yes and no. A couple of things were a bit, I guess, different because they are in an NFT farm and we're just straight in soil. So in ways we do things that are similar, but just the structure and the way they, I guess, do certain things, and I guess it helped and it didn't at the same time because it's such different crops and such different growing conditions, everything like that. But just the way they, I guess, do certain things like with the screens and their fans and how they run it, how they do their harvesting and stuff like that as well, and just the new technologies they're implementing, like I've forgotten what it's called, but that machine, that robot that goes around the farm, picks up the pallets, and it's all computerized. That was pretty good to watch, because it just, I guess, saves one less person doing that, and you can, I guess, focus on people harvesting or doing other jobs a bit better. But yeah, it was just good to see barn farms in general, just to see how they cope with their disease pressures, and like when we were there, they were suffering from the burns and everything, and how they just, you know, it's happened and they don't sit on it. They don't, I guess, I mean, they're disappointed by it, but they just keep moving. They don't stop. They just keep going. So just seeing another farm do that is just eye-opening for me, because no matter what, you're gonna have challenges, and you can't just sit there and worry about it. You just gotta keep going. So yeah,
Very true.
Yep.
Have I got time, Prue, for one more question for each of them? Yeah. Laurie, when we're at Mulgowie, there was a lot of discussions about regen ag, and just having good discussions with you. I know that you've worked with agronomists in the past with a sort of similar philosophy. Could you tell me a bit about how it was for you, kind of hearing from the agronomists at Mulgowie, and whether it sort of validated your approach on farm?
I mean, we're doing, you do some of the things with regenerative farming. You tend to do, you learn from what you're growing, being a grower, and yeah, it was just refreshing to see that, you know, they've taken another step further. Like, you know, they involved all their SAT testing, and yeah, different ways they were doing that, and it was an eye opener what they were doing. I don't think you can apply their model to every region and every part of the you know, growing types in Australia, but it was, I think they're moving a step forward. It was good to see. They were triple planting. Yeah, regenerative is, you know, it's a hard thing to put down, to pinpoint. You know, it's not just, it will be just a different types of methods of trying to achieve the same purpose. So it's like you couldn't follow a handbook with regenerative farming, because each farm is different. The Mulgowies, in the Mulgowie, they had farms in all parts of the country, all secure water supplies. It was, yeah, we're not all in that. We haven't got all those great conditions that they had to do the regenerative. But they, you know, they were trialing with they were doing like 6 crops on the one drip line. So they were putting in their beans, mowing them down, putting in corn, mowing them down, and they've done that 6 times, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, they proved that the way they were doing things, that yeah, that their yields were getting better, were actually improving. So regenerative farming is probably, you know, the future as well, but it's not going to be like out of a handbook. Everybody's going to have to adapt to their own conditions.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Just finally, Evan, as a sort of up and coming young grower, how valuable for you was it to have conversations with other growers in the group and have the chance to network with everybody?
Oh, massive. Like, for me, it helps me heaps, because you just talking to people, and what, like the same with barn farms, like the problems they come up with and how they just deal with it, and they just keep going, and seeing how they grow, how they started off, you know, seeing what they did, how they've become so successful or so big. just, I guess, getting an understanding on what people actually go through. And for my sake is if something goes wrong or if, something doesn't look like it's, set in the right path, it's normal, that's just the joys of farming. You're never always gonna have a clean slate. Everything is gonna be perfect in growing because you got so many different aspects that could make it difficult and make it hard. But talking to everyone from Tassie, from WA, all the Queenslanders when we went to the Gatton Ag show, and even like the SA growers, even though we're in the same state and we grow different crops, but just in different areas, it varies, different soils, different temperatures, everything. But talking to everyone is massive because it helps me a lot and it helps me want to become a really good grower. And I love it talking to everyone.
That's great. Thank you so much, Laurie and Evan.
No worries.
If you have time to hang around, we'll do more conversations later on. But Evan, if you need to duck off, that's all good as well.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up SA.
No worries.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And we're going to now jump to Tassie. So I'll try and spotlight I can see we've got Owen and Alistair on the line. So let's kick off with you, Owen. I'd love to hear what were your key takeaways from across the entire tour. And I've also got a couple of questions maybe for you as well.
No worries. My laptop might shut down.
And if you want to introduce yourself, your company and what you grow as well.
Yep, no worries. So Owen Woolley, Radco Agriculture is our business down here in Tassie. Mixed vegetable grower on the northwest coast, just outside of Devonport. So going along to the Gatton AgTech for us was very beneficial. Our business is still quite a very conventional business. There hasn't really been much change from how my father-in-law did it 25 years ago. And so as times are changing, yes, it still works at the moment, but there's going to come a point in time with margins getting less and less that it's not going to work. And as everyone knows, labour is one of the hardest things for us all to find. So looking at what was on offer up there at Gatton to see what we could bring home to try and remove a labour unit or offset a labour unit in part capacity was the main thing. So we were looking at laser weeders as one of our priorities. We contemplated drones, but our payback on drones versus most of our farm is now mapped with one contractor. So it'd take us a substantial time to pay that drone back, seeing as the contractor's already got the plans there. And then the other element for us was the AgXeed, the autonomous tractor. So if we could implement one of those into our operation, there's a primary and secondary groundwork tractor that can free up one of our machines and one full labour unit for a substantial period of time. Yes, they're smaller. Yes, they're slower. Well, in some regards, slower, but they can run 24/7. So seeing what's out and about in the sphere of ag tech, it was beneficial for us to come home and look at what we can implement in our operation.
And so with the autonomous tractor and seeing it live, where did you land in terms of readiness to actually potentially invest in that?
So to be honest, it's definitely something we're very keen to implement. But after looking at it and talking with the demonstrator, look, he was honest that it's not quite there yet. So if they don't have the implements that talk with the tractor yet, so that's why I said for us it'd be ideal as a groundwork implement. So ripping and disking where it doesn't really require too much final finish. But for us, bed forming, like we need a good level finish. And so we have quite variable soil types in one paddock too. So as a human operating a tractor, you can adjust the tractor and the implement to suit soil as you're going. Whereas at the moment, unless you're going to be standing there watching this thing the whole time and manually adjusting it as it gets into different soil types, you may as well do it yourself in the tractor. And so the man from Land Power said that they're still developing ISO-bus gizmos that will help when the implement's on the linkage, so the tractor can tell it's gone too much down pressure and all that sort of stuff. So,
yeah. And is it? Oh, sorry to cut you off. I was just going to ask as well, in terms of the Tassie terrain being quite hilly in comparison to the nice flats of Gatton. Is any thoughts in terms of the AgTech and the readiness for the Tassie landscape?
So the AgXC, I'm not too worried about. Like, that's a very capable unit as it stands already. But then looking at a few of the other AgTech laser weeders, camera sprays and all that sort of stuff, yeah, there's still a little bit of R&D to be done before you'd see one of them here in Tassie. Like, I know everything's got to start somewhere, which is where it's at. And so it's only going to be a matter of time where they get it to the point where you'd be able to utilise some of the equipment in our landscape here. Yeah. We got some rather rolling topography. And some of them would struggle, I reckon.
Yeah. I'll jump across to Alistair now. Sorry, Al, I can't seem to spotlight you. But if I can see that you're off mute, keen to hear any of your key takeaways from the study tour as well. And if you just want to introduce your business and where you're based and what crops you grow as well.
Hi, so my name's Alistair Mitchelson. I'm in Hagley, Tasmania. I'm growing onions, peas, beans, growing potatoes this year and poppies. So there's a good variety of things going on here. I was sort of interested. I did my uni I finished uni in 2015, so that was 10 years ago. And that was probably the last good look at the AgTech industry. Since being home, I haven't really had time away to go and really dive into this sort of stuff. So I was really interested to see where things were at. It's come a long way in the last 10 years. I've used multiple drones for spraying already down here in Tassie, and I'm not convinced. So I was keen to see the other advanced sprayer systems and what was coming forward and what was going to be in the market in the near future. I was quite excited by the Flux autonomous advanced sprayer. That was a fully robotic machine. You didn't have to be there. There's a couple of other machines that had to be mounted to a tractor and whatnot. They've all got their pros, they've all got their cons. In my opinion, they're not quite viable for a mixed farming operation just yet. I believe they can produce some pretty significant savings with chemical application, but just with a mixed enterprise, unless you've got the scale, I don't know that it's a viable option at the second for me.
Yep. Thank you. And keen to hear just quickly as well your thoughts. I know from a conversation I had with you after the Mulgowie visit around plant health and nutrition, and just keen for you to share any thoughts in terms of what homework you may have come away with from that tour as well.
Yeah, I mean, Mulgowie had a pretty interesting style of farming. They're obviously very passionate about what they're doing, and they've got a pretty good solid product that they're providing. I've not really looked into the hormone side of things. They seem to be using plant hormones and trying to use micronutrients, that sort of thing, to manipulate plant growth and to manipulate disease pressure and pest pressure. A lot of that stuff I'd not dove into. in the past, and I still haven't. I need to look into some of that stuff. Through my uni career, I've just been looking at the mainstream, ways of dealing with fertilizer application and soil tests and all that sort of stuff. So they've certainly challenged my perspective on how to read a soil test and how to use slug bait and all that sort of stuff. They've had success, with a different system. So it's definitely something to look into, and there's multiple ways to skin a cat. So that was good to see they're having success doing it that way.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you very much, Owen and Al, for jumping in. If you can stick around for the Q&A shortly as well, that would be awesome. And I'll now hand over to Lisa and the WA folks.
Good morning, Mia and Ben, if you'd like to step forward. Hello.
Oh, you there?
Oh, hey guys. Okay, so this is Ben and Mia from the WA team. Mia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Mia in about 140 kilometres south of Perth. We grow broccolini.
And Ben where is Ben? We may have lost Ben. We might jump into the questions if and when Ben jumps back online.
Am I back?
There you are.
Yep.
Ben, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Ben. I'm 25 minutes south of Perth. I'm a co-owner with my brother of Element Produce. We grow leeks, radish, Dutch carrots, spring onion, bit of everything else as well. So yeah, it's pretty good.
So what was your reasons for joining the tour, both of you?
Mia, you can go.
No, I thought it was very interesting to see new technology, especially the weeding, spraying, and also just be able to see, what other people do, talk to other growers, and yeah, that was just absolutely brilliant. See the farms, love going to see other farms. You like somebody else said, you always can bring something home, maybe to implement some little things that can work in your operation.
Ben?
Yeah, the networking thing for me is fairly critical. Just meeting new people within the industry, doing different things, looking at deficiencies in our own business and sort of seeing ways to improve. And we certainly found a few things over there that we're applying back here. So yeah, and sort of looking forward as well. Often you're developing new things in your business, and you might look back and say, "Oh, 2 years ago I went to that showcase, and I remember seeing this," and it's just planting little memories there for the future.
Awesome. What was your takeaways from the Gatton AgTech and Lockyer Valley tour, both of you?
I think that having a look at that weeding machine, laser, and there was another one there. I thought, that is something that maybe we could implement, to use. Then, the pricing of everything, what you do now, and that works, but, definitely going forward, you need to, reinvent and redo or do other things when technology come there and that can fit into your way of farming. And I think that is why it's so good to go and have a look at different things.
Yep. Ben, what was your main takeaway?
As far as the ag show, there was quite a few things that I saw that I quite liked. Things like, what do we say? The drone technology for us was pretty good. That's something we're looking at back home here. There was a company there, they were sort of selling an app where you could basically bring in all the things you're using, like, evaporation pans, fridge bots, reticulation controllers, and bring that all back to one app. That was quite interesting for me. Obviously, I'm with everyone else with the mechanical weeders. We're looking at something like that back on the farm here as well. A lot of the stuff there, like the robot technology with the cameras and laser weeders, I think that's all interesting, but I think that's probably a bit further down the track once sort of prices drop on those sort of things. But definitely something like that in the next 5 years, I think it'll be quite interesting. The other farms we visited, yeah, that was really great. We got a lot of that out of the Mulgoe visit. they do a lot of like minimum tillage farming, which is quite interesting. The biochar and the compost, and a lot of things on supply chain. I was speaking to a lady there, and she opened my eyes to the way that we communicate with the supermarkets and things like that. So yeah, it was quite interesting.
Mia, when you were on the tour, you talked about seeing the greenhouse layouts and irrigation systems as a highlight. What stood out most for you?
I think the way they handle everything, and how they fertilize, watering, and I thought that was really, really interesting.
What would you see any applications coming into your farm around that, or is that not?
Nah, in greenhouse we don't have greenhouses. We all on ground, so all open. But it's still interesting to have a look at, and look what other people and other farms do.
If you could bring one specific technology or practice back from the Lockyer Valley, what would you test on your farm and why?
Their Mulgowie, their growing technology, or what they do, you can bring some of that back. I don't know that every soil type, we're very sandy soil here, but looking at what they do, I thought it was very interesting the way he was talking, and some of the things we may do, but you can definitely improve things and do things taken back from that.
Ben, same question. If you could bring one specific tech or practice back from Lockyer Valley, what would you bring?
Yeah, I've probably brought a bunch of things back already. I've already communicated with my compost provider after speaking to the guys at Mulgowie there about things they're putting in their compost. So the pressure's on them. What else have I got going on? A little bit with supply chain. We're doing a drone display here on the farm, or just playing around with the drones. It's quite interesting for us. I've in contact with one of the guys there doing the mechanical weeding. The guys from Germany there, they want to get out here and have a play around, so that should be quite interesting as well. So yeah, there's quite a few things there that we're working on.
So how do you think, but this is for both of you guys, how do you think these demonstrations help and connect growers, researchers and industry partners for innovation?
I think just talking to other growers and hear what they do, and I'm just fascinated by everybody. I mean, we all got different soil types and different climate, everything else, but in the end of the day, you talk to people, and it is just great to hear what people do, and then hopefully you can implement something on the farm, and also something maybe that you haven't seen, or you haven't thought of, or whatever. I think we're pretty going forward here with new things, and fertilizing. We're using a drone now to fertilize some of the broccolini, and apparently that from my son and my husband, that works pretty well, and so we're quite excited about that. Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, being in WA, obviously we're fairly isolated from the rest of the country. So we've got our own little like network of people that we deal with on the East Coast there that we sort of communicate with, but just broadening those horizons, and even across different crops and different growing system like areas and things like that. It's I think it just gets the brain going. It creates ideas, even new cropping ideas. It was very good for us just to, and having those connections of people. Like, I can ring Mia tomorrow and say, hey Mia, I've got this going on, and and just it creates a bit of excitement in our industry, and gets the brain going.
Really, really great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys. If you want to stick around for the Q&A, that would be great. Thank you.
Cool, no dramas.
Thank you.
And hand back over to Prue.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I can't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone would like to unmute and fire away with any questions, and not, oh, sorry, did someone have something to?
No.
No. I can definitely kick off with one question, and happy to sort of perhaps I know I had this conversation with Owen, so I can throw Owen under the bus to be the first to respond to this. And it was mentioned throughout the discussion as well around, I suppose, being a couple of years off, farmers being ready to invest and prices being a lot higher. And majority of farmers on our study tour were more of the family farm size business, that looking at some of the equipment and tech that was on showcase, it's just at a price point that is probably a bit too high, and also for where the tech is at in terms of commercialization. Owen, I'm keen to just hear your thoughts in terms of pros and cons around early adoption of technology, and yeah, how that, I suppose, influences yourself as a family farming business, and how you're making those decisions, and when you're trying to make the right jump at the right time to make those investments.
Yeah, you're definitely right. For us being such a mixed enterprise, between the potatoes, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, peas, beans, it's very hard to find one machine at the moment that fits the mold to do 50 or 60% of what we grow. So at this point in time, we haven't really, I didn't really see anything there that was, other than the AgTech seed, that could tick that box for us. So from that perspective, as you mentioned, not jumping in on one particular item and trying to make it fit. The space is ever evolving, so who knows what another 2 years could do for us, being some crop in bed, some crop in potato mold, or flat farming. And well, I know there's people out there that have jumped on board and adopted new technology, and it not being quite refined enough, and it actually being more of a hindrance. So I'm always a bit cautious and hesitant of get some of these bigger guys that have got a bit of surplus cash kicking around, or a corporate big bank account to thrash out, do the R&D and get it where it needs to be. So by the time we jump on board, it is refined. And that's one of the biggest things being here in Tassie, and why I was keen to go up to Gatton, is that it's not very often you get someone willing to bring a new piece of equipment down here for us to see. So it's generally a little way away before we can actually witness it on farm. And yeah, I know there's a couple of machines getting around in Tassie now, like the Eco Robotics. But if you look at their business versus our business, there's a substantial difference in business level and why they can are able to bring that sort of technology in. Because for us to go and put $1.2 million into a laser weeder and put it into 3 paddocks, the bank manager is going to laugh at you if you go and say, I want to do that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the response. Thank you, Owen. We've got a question from Tom McHugh in the chat. If the event was to, and this is open to any of the farmers that attended, if the event was to run again and based on what you saw, what production challenge would you like to see addressed? And are there any technologies or processes you would like to see? Would anyone like to unmute and jump in on that question?
I'll jump in if you want.
Go for it, Ben. Thanks.
Yeah, like it was very beneficial. I think I said to a couple of girls on the tour, basically the size of the farms we were visiting, with Barden Produce and McGarvey, they were big operations. And like you said, a lot of the growers are family businesses and smaller businesses. I'd be a lot more interested to see guys similar size or similar turnovers, facing similar problems. I mean, the bigger companies have got managers in place for supply chain managers, farm managers, ergonomists, things like that, where there's more in the smaller sort of businesses, the same person has to wear a lot of different hats. And they come up with different processes and different procedures and got a different outlook in general. It'd be kind of good to see something like that a little bit more relatable. So then you can sort of see where they've become efficient in those areas, where the bigger guys don't really have to sort of be as broad. I think that'd be fairly beneficial, especially being isolated over here.
Thanks, Ben. And I think one of my reflections as well with everyone that has said the value of the networking with the growers on this study group, like hopefully from the relationships that have formed amongst you all, there's now that opportunity to really leverage those relationships to do some interstate farm
100%,
visits.
Yeah.
Laurie, I can see you're off mute.
Yep. An interesting comment at Barton Farms. Nathan, wasn't it? They had during COVID, when they had labour issues, they were the people working on the benches were, they were easy to find those people, but out in the field they couldn't find people to work out in the field and bend over. So, we're all having issues trying to find people to bend over in the field, and I've done it myself for many years, so it's not, I know what it's like. So maybe we need some technologies for harvest, like field crops like lettuce, cabbage, collies, that would make that a bit more appealing as well, because the future, it's just going to get harder and harder to get people out on the farms. So I would like to see some, putting some money into harvest technologies.
Thanks, Laurie.
Yep.
Anyone else have any other comments as well in terms of what might be an opportunity at a future AgTech showcase? Alrighty.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, go, Evan.
No, I'm just trying to think because everyone is so different and so diverse. Like you got like Laurie growing lettuce, and you got myself growing capsicums in two different conditions. It's just like when we went to Malgowie, I guess it's hard for them because there's such a big company and everything. But to try and, I don't know, break down what they're doing more in a way, like how they actually got to where they were, and what was the main challenges they faced throughout the whole period of them becoming Malgowie Farms, if that makes sense. So like for my sake as being a young grower, like I was saying to everyone else, when we were after everything we saw and we were having dinner together, was the more I know, the more I don't know. So like in a way, the more I learn, there's more I don't know. And it's like when you have big companies like that and they're so established, it's like what did they actually do to become who they are, if that makes sense in a way. Like really break it down for my sake, and I'm not sure if everyone else is the same, but just to really learn how to establish yourself and how to really thrive in the growing industry.
Just on that, if I could ask a question, I think that was something that we saw at Malgowie, is we got to quite a high level of sort of agronomy discussions and that sort of thing. For future tours, what sort of level is everyone thinking? Would it be better to have more accessible sort of is that sort of what you're getting at, Evan, to have a more sort of open dialogue that's not as high level or in depth?
Yeah, basically, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Owen? Yep.
Yeah. And I also, going back to Gatton, it was all well and good to see some of those products there then on the day, so laser weeding and some of those, like the flux and all that sort of stuff, working in the beds. But it'd be nice to be able to get an update at 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, to see how good a job that technology was actually doing, because it's all good to see there on the day, but has it actually worked at 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Sorry, I've got to have. And they sent me some photos of the laser weeding where they had sprayed and where they hadn't sprayed. Like a week later, that pigweed was just out of control where they hadn't. Sorry, sprayed where they hadn't lasered. The pigweed was out of control, like 6 inches high. Yeah, it was thick as, and because we know that will take off with that sort of weather. But where they had laser sprayed, it was just it looked better than what we saw on the day. Put it that way. So
yeah,
you can see a massive improvement.
So it'd be nice to get feedback, like a follow up from the event to anyone that attended. So we'll use the feedback or the result after a week.
I appreciate that, Owen. Thank you. And thanks, Laurie. In the interest of time, I know we've gone a bit over, but I also want to just have Julie O'Halloran take a couple of minutes to share another study tour opportunity through the VegNET project. So Julie, if you're online and able to unmute, and if you'd just like to introduce yourself as well and the role that you play within Queensland DPI and the Smart Farm. Are you there, Julie?
I'll jump in for Julie if you don't mind, Prue. She's having some connection problems. I'll just see where I can camera so you can see. Yep, come on, camera.
There you are.
Okay.
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, look, I'll speak for Julie. Julie's having some after the storms we've had this week. Some issues with connectivity, so she may join later. But look, I'm Ian Layden. I'm the director vegetables R&D program in Queensland, and I guess one of the original architects of the showcase in 23, and again in this one just recently. So, firstly, thanks for everyone and for taking what is quite a good serious trip out and time out of your business to come to Gatton. I hope you enjoyed it. And but yeah, look, there's another opportunity that we've got. There's a study tour to the UK and EU in June next year, and I think the VegNET team have the EOIs, and we may have even had a couple of people submit EOIs already from that group. So. So that's on there as well. We've got 4 EOIs so far, so we've got a few more to go. It'll be open for a little while yet. We're looking to sort of, I guess, tidy this up by towards the end of the year so people can start planning for that. So that will see some other laser technologies in the field in the UK and in the EU. It's very much just a farm trip, that one. There's not, there's no real sort of events or conferences or sort of included, so yeah, a whole heap of farm tours on that. So
what's the timing of that one, Ian?
It's June 26.
June next year. Yep.
And I think you've got it'll be, I think, 10 days. It will go to the British Leafy Salads Day, so that'll be something novel. The British growers are quite keen to host us. Julie's just let me know it's the June 28 to July 7. And there's something in the chat there as well.
Awesome.
Thanks, Taylor. So now someone mentioned too, I think it was Laurie, around harvest technology. So we actually did have some harvester technology manufacturers at the showcase, one from Canada and one from the US. So that's something that we're very keen under another project, which is very much aligned to the showcase, and veg mechanisation is that harvester work. So we also believe that that's one of the highest priorities, particularly for those hand harvested crops, is harvester technology, and you will see some of that on the this UK EU trip as well. But we are looking to develop a much more considered program around evaluation of harvest technology.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ian. And just quickly, any reflections in terms of this year's showcase from the Smart Farm team?
Yeah, look, again, we're so glad that you guys could make the effort to come up. We definitely hope you enjoyed it. We had, 386 growers actually turned up, which is a massive number for any field day event in this country and indeed across the world, really. It was a world-class event. Reflection was, I think, you know, as it gets bigger and bigger, we have to sort of keep maintaining integrity of that it is a farmer-focused field day. So moving sort of live demonstrations is a critical part of that. I think there was a good suggestion just before. It's like, well, could we work with the manufacturers to do some, or here's some stuff we weeded or harvested or whatever it might be, or sprayed, you know, the week before or 2 weeks before, so you can actually sort of see some of the the results as they move through. I think that's a really good idea. Bit tricky to probably execute for all the technologies, but there'd be certainly some provider, because it means obviously those providers need to give their machines to us a lot earlier as well, and then come back, that sort of stuff. So there's a bit of logistics in it, but it's definitely probably worthwhile looking at. We had a speaking program this year, and we also had the protected cropping, so it was quite different. Most people asking, are we going to do it again? I'd probably not say we will do it again. There's definitely a high amount of interest in it, and yeah, we will working with Hort Innovation with Tom to actually deliver some satellite events, some regional events as well. So we haven't sort of firmed them up yet, but it's great to have sort of a bit of a groundswell of support from VegNet and growers across, particularly Tasmania, South Australia, and WA. That's will be very helpful for whatever happens next in terms of more regionally focused events. So we'll keep you posted on that one. I'd be very keen to work with you guys on that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing all of that and your reflections. That's great. I'll now hand over to Lisa to wrap up the webinar.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today and for taking the time to be part of the VegNet webinar. It has been fantastic hearing directly from our growers about their experiences from the Gatton AgTech and Lockyer Valley Tour. And some of these innovations could translate into opportunities for Tasmania, South Australia, and WA. A huge thank you to our RDO colleagues from WA, South Australia, and Tasmania for their advice and support. I would personally like to thank Prue and Kirsty for your ongoing collaboration and support. To our growers here today, Kush, Owen, Alistair, Mia, Ben, Evan, and Laurie, thank you for sharing your insights and being so open about what you saw, what inspired you, and what might work on your farms. Your feedback helps guide where VegNet focuses its efforts and ensures we keep delivering directly back to our growers. And a big thank you to the rest of the group who attended the tour. A special thank you to Ian and Julie for joining us as guest speakers today. Now, before we wrap up, we'd really appreciate if everyone could take a minute and complete the short feedback survey. It helps us to plan future events and make sure these sessions continue to meet your needs. Thanks again for everyone for your time and contributions. Travel safe, and we look forward to seeing you at the next VegNet event. Thank you.